Hi everyone, so today we're going to do 10 minutes of shoulder stretches. Really good if you're someone who sits at a desk all day, if you're somebody who drives a lot, if you're dealing with like carrying a small child or like a heavy bag or backpack where you're just hunched over all day and need something to counteract all of that internal rotation from activities of daily life. This is also good if you know you have something like wing scapula where your shoulder blades don't sit properly on top of your rib cage. So it'll be really good to counter that internal rotation with some external rotation through these stretches. Just a quick programming note, with any sort of stretches, you only want to work through a range of motion that feels like a release and that feels good and that feels comfortable. If you don't feel any of these things, if you feel any discomfort or pain, stop and talk to a medical professional. So not YouTube. So that's it. Let's get started. So this workout is going to be 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for each exercise. Twice through for each exercise. So I'm going to get my timer started right here, and what we're going to start off with is a Pec Minor Stretch. So we're going to get our arm all the way up to the wall. We are going to rotate our arm backward, and we're going to twist away from that raised arm. So that's going to get into some of this external rotation. I'm also looking down at the ground right now because that's another way to get into that position now. If you're like me, your arm might be slipping a bit, but that's okay because you want to get it into that upward position. The way your pec work is you have your pec major, which you kind of get with this 90-degree doorway stretch, but your pec minor you get with your hand all the way up. That's kind of the muscle that attaches right into your shoulder blade. So we're going to get our arm up, we're going to rotate backward and away from that stretching arm. Now, if getting your arm up is too much for you and you just want to do the 90-degree doorway stretch, go ahead and do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to target the muscle in the exact same way. All right, so that was twice through on our right side. Now we're going to do twice through on our left side. So we're going to get our arm up high. We're going to rotate away from our body, and now we're going to start the stretch. I'm going to be looking down at the ground because that's how you also get the most stretch, because you're further directing your line of vision away from the internal rotation and towards the external rotation. Now, one thing you'll notice today is a lot of these stretches involve raising your arms. When you're raising your arms, you're countering a lot of that natural internal rotation because day-to-day life, we don't do a lot of raising our arms. And that also counters, not counters, but contributes to that internal rotation of our scapula, which can cause lots of back problems and lots of shoulder problems. So this is our last interval right here. We're going to hold. We got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next one is a lat stretch. It's going to be really similar to the motion we just did. We're going to get our right arm up as high as possible. We're going to get it away from, we're going to point it towards our left side of our body. We're going to drop our pelvis and we're going to step our left foot behind us. Now, again, we're getting our arms up really high here. You really can't stretch the lat if you're keeping your arms kind of in a normal position. Now, you might notice here that there were a lot of cues with this one. Your lats is one of the biggest muscles in your upper body, so there's a lot of places of insertion and origin that you want to get at when you are stretching this out. So if this is too much for you, or like your balance is off with putting your back leg behind you, or you're struggling to dip your pelvis and keep your arm up high, do what you can control. But the most important thing to do here is to keep your arm up high. So that was twice on the right. Now we're going to do it on the other side. So left arm up against the wall as high as possible. Crawl it towards your opposite side. Drop your pelvis. Rotate towards your left armpit and stick your right leg back and behind you. Now you want to find a range of motion that feels good here. You want to get the same way you did it on both sides. So if you were struggling with some balance or couldn't do all of the rotations or tilting your pelvis forward and backward, do what you did on the same side. We want to do the same thing on both sides so we don't develop a ton of muscle imbalances, which only contribute to shoulder problems. Last lat stretch. So foot behind us, arm up as high as possible, and rotate towards your left side. You should feel this going from your armpit to your hip. Your lats literally go from about your armpit to where your hip muscle starts kind of across your rib cage. Whenever you're doing any sort of back exercises or any sort of these or these, those are your lats. So next exercise is a levator stretch. There's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you the harder way first. So we're going to take our arm up here. I'm going to drop the timer for this. We're going to take our opposite hand to the back of our head, and we're going to direct our gaze downward. Now we want our hand on the back of our head. We don't want it here. We don't want it here. We want it at the back because we want to give it a little extra tug to get there. Now that was the harder version of it. I find this hard to feel the stretch, so I prefer to do it the other way. Other way is a little bit simpler. We're going to extend our arm again, old friend. We're going to take the opposite hand to the back of our head. We're going to tilt our gaze down to the opposite knee, and we're just going to hold. Now, this stretch gets into your neck and kind of where your shoulders meet your neck. And whenever you're dealing with your neck, these are really tiny sensitive muscles, and you don't want to do anything too sudden or too jerky because you want to make sure they're doing the right thing. So we're going to do our left side now. So I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. We're going to do our left arm. We're going to get our right hand behind our head. And now I'm going to direct my gaze at my right knee instead of my left knee. Now switching like what area I'm pointing my head is honestly like the hardest part of this for me. So maybe it is for you as well. All right, that was 20 seconds. Now we're going to do it on the opposite side. So levator is like elevator. So these muscles actually elevate your shoulder blades. And if you have any hunching or anything like that, that's a huge contributor to it. So we want to be drawing our shoulder blades down and away. Oh, we're looking at our right knee. I want to look at my left knee, even though I'm not like left-handed. That's on, like the coordination can be the hardest part of these things. So we're trying to press our scapula down into the right position here. Don't do anything too jerky or anything like that. Now we're going to do a rotator cuff stretch. So I'm going to take my right arm, I'm going to put it under my left arm, and I'm going to rotate my right hand back and my right wrist back and hold and pull. Now this might look a lot like eagle pose if you've ever done yoga. It's kind of the same hand motion, and this is really going to get into your rotator cuff. So if you're internally rotated, this is going to help stretch those muscles and get them into the right position. Now if the arm thing is awkward for you, you don't have to use your arm. If you have a very sturdy broom, if you have a PVC pipe lying around, if you have, you can even do it against the wall where you're just rotating this right arm back, rotating your right wrist back, and pressing down. And you're going to hold it. You can find a range of motion that feels good here. You kind of want to keep it in front of your chest. You don't want to get like way too high or way too low because then you're not necessarily getting the full benefit of the stretch. So left side. See, this is going quickly. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our right arm underneath, left arm all the way back, flick your wrist, and hold. And hold here. So this feels different on both sides. That's pretty normal. This feels different more than any other stretch on both sides for me. You might be able to see just how I'm holding my hands. It looks a little bit different, and that's okay. I would much rather if it's a little bit different on both sides, that's fine. Don't try to force a motion. Find a range of motion that feels good. All right, last one. So now we're going to have our left hand back and away from us, flicking our arm back, rotating backward, countering that internal rotation that we kind of get from a lot of activities of daily life. And we're holding 3, 2, 1. Next exercise. This is our rhomboid stretch. So we're going to take our two arms, we're going to clasp them together, make a fist, and we're going to hold. So we're going to hold and we're going to arch our back all the way forward. Let me get my hair out of my face. Arch our back all the way forward. Now your rhomboids are your muscles in between your shoulder blades. And we haven't quite got those yet, so you should really feel those muscles inside your shoulder blades release. All right, last time through this exercise because we don't have to do it on both sides. So hands together, out right in front of you. You don't want to raise too much or lower too much because then you're not going to get the stretch. And go all the way forward. If you want to kind of move your torso around a little to find an angle that feels good, that's fine. Also want to do some punches, also fine. You could even do this sitting, just making sure you're keeping your back in a neutral position and not going too crazy with that. So last exercise is going to be on the ground. It's going to be child's pose. Fun fact, my camera battery died, so this actually worked out pretty good. So I'm going to get our timer started. We got 8 seconds worth of rest. So there's 2 ways to do the child's pose. I'm going to do it with my knees pointed outward and my toes together, and you're just kind of lie down, drive your tailbone towards your heels, and extend your arms. You can play around with your arm position here. I just want you to find something that feels good, that feels normal. You can stick them straight out, or you can go into a 10-2 position, just walking your arms to where a 10 or a 2 is on the clock if you want to get more into those lats. Now, if you've had enough of lat stretching today, that's fine. I just want to do it straight. All good. All right, last 20 seconds of work. We can do this. So we're going to extend all the way down to the ground. If you did the 10-2 before, feel free to do that again. Drive your tailbone towards your heels. If you feel this in your lower back, that's fine as well. And you can just hang out here for our last couple seconds. All right, guys, that's it. That's 10 minutes of shoulder stretches to help counter sitting and hunching all day. I hope you feel more open. I hope you feel like your shoulders are sitting in the right position on your upper body. And that's it. Great work. Thanks.